Do you remember when you used to dream? Not in the polite, career day sense of the word, but in the way that once felt like oxygen, when possibility wasn't measured by practicality, but by imagination. When the world felt like an open canvas, and you were brave enough to color it with your wildest longing. Most people don't notice the moment they stop dreaming. It doesn't happen with a scream, but with a quiet, creeping erosion. 1,000 tiny surrenders, each justified in the name of realism, responsibility, or survival. You don't announce to the world that you've given up on wonder. You simply forget how to look for it. Carl Jung, the Swiss psychiatrist and pioneer of analytical psychology, spoke of this quiet tragedy. He believed that every human being lives two lives, the one they are given and the one they must create. The first is shaped by family expectations, cultural norms, economic demands, all the forces that mold us into socially acceptable shapes. The second, far more elusive, is the life that emerges from within the soul's voice, the dreamer, the artist, the wild self. Most people live only the first life. They get good at it too, mastering the art of survival, collecting milestones, blending in, succeeding in ways others understand. But at night, when the applause fades and the phone goes silent, there is often a whisper. Is this all there is? That whisper is not weakness. It's a signal, a pulse from the part of you that refuses to die. Childhood, the first betrayal of wonder from the earliest age. The world teaches us to shrink. Not all at once, but slowly. A teacher who praises obedience more than curiosity. A parent who tells us to be practical when we express desire. A friend who mocks our creative spark. Each moment chips away at something essential. By adolescence, many of us have internalized the lesson. Dreaming is dangerous. It makes you vulnerable to judgment. It sets you up for disappointment. Better to follow the map than wander into the wilderness. And so we begin to wear a mask. We become what Jung called the persona, a carefully constructed self-designed to meet the expectations of others. It is not fake, but it is partial. The persona keeps us safe, but only by exiling the parts of ourselves that don't fit the mold. What happens to those exiled parts? The dreams, the strange longings, the love for wonder, for meaning, for magic. They go underground, the soul in hiding. You might think you've forgotten your dreamer, that they've disappeared into the fog of adulthood. But they haven't. They're still there, waiting. They show up in restlessness, in unexplained sadness, in the ache you feel when you hear a certain piece of music or see a child lost in play. These moments aren't distractions. They're breadcrumbs, invitations, yet most people ignore them. They distract themselves with busyness, with scrolling, with goals that look good on paper but leave them spiritually hollow. But Jung warned, when the inner life is ignored, it does not vanish. It transforms. What could have been wonder becomes anxiety. What could have been passion becomes numbness. The dreamer, unwelcomed, becomes a ghost that haunts your joy. And the longer you pretend it's not there, the heavier life becomes. A culture that celebrates sleepwalking society rewards conformity. It praises the worker who doesn't question, the adult who doesn't dream, the citizen who doesn't wonder. We are taught that safety is maturity, that settling is wisdom. But safety comes at a cost. That cost is aliveness. It's the wide-eyed, open-hearted experience of being in the world as a participant in mystery, not just a cog in a machine. We've traded imagination for productivity and wonder for efficiency. The modern self is connected but lonely, successful but hollow, safe but yearning. We live behind screens, behind masks, behind walls, but cracks always form. At some point, maybe in a heartbreak, a job loss, a sleepless night, the illusion falters. You catch a glimpse of the life unlit. You feel the hunger return, and for a moment, the dreamer stirs. What Jung understood about dreamers, Jung knew that the soul speaks in symbols, in longings, in dreams. And he warned that if we suppress this inner world for too long, it becomes destructive. He called this the shadow, the repressed parts of ourselves that grow bitter in silence. The dreamer, when denied, does not vanish. It returns as sabotage, depression, or obsession. It demands attention, not because it is childish, but because it is vital. You were not meant to simply survive. You were not born only to follow a script. You are here, alive, now, to become yourself. And that means remembering what the world told you to forget. The mask will always crack eventually. The mask becomes too heavy. This breaking point is not a failure, it is a beginning. Jung called it the dark night of the soul, a descent into confusion, but also a necessary prelude to awakening. To truly live, you must risk being seen. You must meet the parts of yourself you buried and invite them back to the table. That takes courage and grief. You must grieve the years you spent pretending, the dreams you abandoned, the wonder you dismissed as naive. You must forgive yourself for surviving in a world that made forgetting feel necessary. But beyond the grief, there is something else waiting, a second life. The dreamer isn't dead, just waiting. What did you love before the world told you who to be? What lit you up before fear stepped in? What makes your heart ache, not from sadness, but from yearning? These questions are doorways. Most people run from them. The brave go through. The dreamer within you is not some romantic relic of childhood. It is your most essential self, the part that still believes, still hopes, still sees beauty in small things. And if you're reading this, it's likely because that part of you is stirring again, asking to be remembered, asking you to come home. Not too late, never too late. You may have been asleep for years. You may have forgotten how to dream. But your soul has not forgotten you. Jung wrote, I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become. And becoming real becoming means choosing to live from the inside out, not the outside in. It means risking authenticity over approval, wonder over routine, dreams over doubt. This is not easy, but it is the only path to wholeness, a call to remember. So I ask you, as your teacher, your guide, or simply as another seeker, what have you forgotten? What dream did you bury to survive? And are you willing, even now, to go back and find it? The rest of this journey will not be easy, but it will be yours. And as we move into the next section, I will show you not only how to awaken the dreamer within, but how to begin building a life they'd be proud to live. Because the dreamer you once were has not given up on you. They're waiting, and they are ready. Wonderful. Let's continue with section 2, where we go deeper into the personal and philosophical journey of reclaiming the inner dreamer. This section will be reflective, practical, and rooted in Jungian thought, blending introspection with direction. Awakening the inner dreamer. Reclaiming the self, there comes a moment in life, often quiet, sometimes tragic, when you realize you can no longer pretend. The life you built, the mask you wear, the routine you follow, no longer fits. Something within you aches, not for comfort, but for truth. And if you're brave enough to listen to that ache, you'll find it's not asking for answers, it's asking for remembrance. This is the moment the dreamer begins to stir, not as a fantasy, but as a necessity. And yet, this awakening is not the kind that happens all at once. It's not a lightning bolt, not a movie climax. It's more like the thawing of ice, slow, painful, but inevitable once it begins. Because once you've glimpsed the truth of who you were before the world silenced you, you cannot unsee it. Carl Jung described this as the beginning of individuation, the process of becoming whole by integrating the parts of ourselves we've long ignored. It is not about becoming someone new. It is about reclaiming who you already are and have always been. Listening to the voice within, how does the dreamer begin to wake? It often starts with discomfort, a vague dissatisfaction that no success can soothe. You might feel restless, bored, inexplicably tired of your own life. These feelings aren't failures. They are signals. Jung believed the soul speaks in symbols, in feelings, in quiet intuitions. You may not hear a clear voice, but you'll sense something pulling you inward. Memories from childhood, flashes of joy you haven't felt in years, longings you can't explain. These aren't distractions. They are clues. You might remember the books you loved before anyone told you what was serious, the songs that made you cry before you knew why, the things you used to do for no reason except that they made you feel alive. Those moments were never trivial. They were fragments of your soul speaking its first language. And if you want to return to that aliveness, you must begin to listen again. The inner world, a landscape of memory. Try this. Sit with yourself. No phone, no noise, no task. Ask a question Jung often encouraged his clients to confront. What did I once love without fear? Wait. Let your memory respond in whispers. Not everything will feel profound, but something will shimmer. A detail, a scent, a scene from childhood. That shimmer is where your dreamer lives. The world may have told you to move on, to forget, but your soul never did. It stored those dreams like seeds beneath the soil, waiting for light. And now, if you dare to pay attention, you can begin to water them again. Why we hide, of course. If awakening the dreamer were easy, everyone would do it. But there's a reason so many people choose numbness over aliveness, silence over longing, conformity over authenticity. It's safer. To remember your dreams is to risk heartbreak again. It's to feel vulnerable. It's to admit you want something more. And once you admit that, you have to face the unbearable truth. You might not get it. That's why we hide. Not because we're lazy or broken, but because we once believed, and it hurt. So we buried the dreamer to protect ourselves. But here's the paradox Jung understood. The part of you you're hiding is also the part of you that can heal you. Your imagination, your hope, your creativity. These are not naive traits. They are the tools your psyche offers to reawaken your life. To bury them is to bury the only map that can lead you home. The cost of forgetting every day you deny the dreamer. You pay a price. Not all at once, but in small ways. You begin to live by default rather than design. You start to tolerate relationships that numb you, work that drains you, and habits that shrink you. You stop asking deep questions. You settle for quick pleasures. You trade your curiosity for control. And then one day, you look in the mirror and barely recognize yourself, not because your face has changed, but because your light has. This is not a superficial loss. It's existential. Jung called it a psychic death, the loss of vitality when the inner life is neglected. He warned that when we cut ourselves off from our dreamer, we risk becoming what he called a false self, functional, even successful, but disconnected from the soul. You may be able to fake a life for others, but you can't fake it to yourself forever. Eventually, the hunger returns. Reclaiming what was lost, the dreamer you once were is not gone, just hidden beneath years of shoulds and musts and can'ts. But the moment you decide to go looking, truly looking, they begin to return. Reclamation doesn't require perfection. It requires permission. Give yourself permission to revisit what you loved. Write down the wild ideas that still visit you. Reread the stories that once made you feel infinite. Make space for wonder, even if it feels silly at first. This is not regression. It is integration. As Jung taught, the goal is not to go back to childhood, but to reconnect with the forgotten wisdom of the child and bring it into adult life. Facing the fear of change, as you begin to reawaken, fear will inevitably rise. You'll wonder, who am I to want more? What if people don't understand? What if I fail again? These voices are echoes of teachers who scolded your imagination, of parents who taught fear, of peers who demanded you conform. But they are not your truth. You are not here to fit. You are here to become, and becoming requires letting go. Letting go of the version of yourself that made everyone comfortable. Letting go of the safety that became a cage. Letting go of the dream that no longer fits, so you can reach for the one that still makes your heart beat faster. Jung wrote, "The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely. The terror is the threshold of transformation." The return of magic. Something curious happens when you begin to live as the dreamer again. You notice more. A sunrise stirs something sacred. A conversation makes you feel seen. A forgotten melody brings tears for reasons you can't name. Life begins to glow again, not because everything is perfect, but because you're present. The world you once dismissed as mundane starts to shimmer with significance. As Jung believed, meaning isn't handed down from above. It's made in the small moments when your inner and outer world come into alignment. This is not magical thinking. It is the result of deep psychological integration. When the dreamer returns, so does vitality, energy, and purpose. You're no longer just reacting to life, you're participating in it. Finding the others. One of the most beautiful surprises of awakening is that you are not alone. At first, it may feel like you are. You may feel foolish for dreaming in a cynical world. But as you continue, you will begin to attract others who are also waking up. They may not look like dreamers. They might be artists or scientists, teachers or travelers, mothers or monks, but they will recognize something in you, a brightness. And when dreamers find each other, the world begins to change. You share not just ideas, but longings. Not just strategies, but stories. You build communities where honesty replaces performance, and wonder is a shared value. Jung called this the collective individuation, when individuals committed to authenticity inspire others to do the same. This is not just a personal journey, it's a cultural one. You are becoming right now, whether you feel ready or not. You are becoming someone new, or perhaps someone ancient within you is being remembered. The dreamer inside is not a character from the past. It's the part of you brave enough to still believe, still hope, still risk being real in a world that teaches you to be safe. To reclaim your dreamer is to reclaim your humanity. And though the path is uncertain, though the steps are often slow, every act of courage, no matter how small, becomes a spark. So, if you feel called, even faintly, to continue this journey, trust it. You're not just reviving old dreams. You're making space for new ones to emerge. And in Section 3, we will explore exactly how to live as a dreamer in the real world. How to build rituals, take meaningful risks, and surround yourself with the kind of people and practices that keep your wonder alive, not just for a moment, but for a lifetime. This is not the end, it is the beginning, and your dreamer, your true self, is finally wide awake. The most expansive and practical of all. In the previous sections, we uncovered how the dreamer inside us gets buried beneath social pressure, fear, and routine. We learned through Jung that reclaiming the dreamer is an act of integration, of becoming whole. But awakening, as beautiful as it sounds, is only the beginning. Now, the question becomes, how do you live as a dreamer in the real world? Because this is not about escaping life. It's about fully entering it, with eyes wide open and a heart fully alive. This section will explore exactly that. How to practice wonder daily. Face resistance courageously, build a new community, and create a life of meaning from the inside out. Most people wait. They wait for the right time, the perfect conditions, the next version of themselves that will somehow feel ready. They wait to begin until the fear disappears, until the doubts vanish, until the people around them understand. But here's the quiet truth. You will never feel fully ready. And yet, transformation begins the moment you decide to act anyway. Jung understood this deeply. He believed that change does not come from external conditions, but from an inner shift, a willingness to live differently, even in small ways. The decision to follow your soul's call, even when it's inconvenient, uncertain, or misunderstood, is what brings the dreamer to life. So, what does that actually look like in daily life? 1. Making room for wonder. The first step is deceptively simple. Make space for what stirs your heart. You don't need to quit your job or abandon your responsibilities. You don't need to run away from the world. What you need is to let the dreamer breathe, to loosen the grip of routine just enough for wonder to get in. Start by noticing what excites you, even a little. What kinds of moments make you feel present? What stirs a strange longing inside you that doesn't quite make sense? Maybe it's an old song you forgot you loved, a sunrise, a walk through nature, a scent that reminds you of something you never processed but always felt. These are not distractions. They are invitations. Let them in. Take a few minutes each day to let your imagination wander. Write, draw, play music, dance, explore. You don't need a reason. The dreamer thrives not in utility, but in possibility. Reawakening isn't about doing more. It's about paying attention. 2. Build rituals of aliveness. Dreaming is a habit, a rhythm you can relearn. Start with small rituals. Take a 10-minute walk each morning without your phone. Watch the world wake up. Light a candle and write whatever comes to mind. No editing, no filtering. Keep a wonder notebook where you record odd dreams, vivid memories, and strange ideas. Revisit a childhood book or movie that once made your heart race. Set aside a no productivity hour every week, a time to create, explore, or simply exist. These rituals aren't just cute practices. They're acts of psychological resistance, your way of declaring that your life is not only about output, achievement, or control. Jung believed that the unconscious communicates through symbols and metaphor. When you make time for imagination and play, you give the unconscious a way to speak. You reconnect with the self behind the mask. And in doing so, you begin to feel alive again, not in theory, but in your bones. 3. Accept the fear, but don't obey it. Here's the hard truth. As you change, fear will always come along for the ride. The voice in your head will say, "Who are you to do this? What if you fail? What will people think?" These voices are the echoes of your past. They belong to the old version of you, the one who survived by shrinking, pleasing, and hiding. They are not your enemies, but they are not your guides either. Your job is to hear them and keep going, because courage is not the absence of fear. It's the decision to act despite it. In Jungian terms, fear is part of the shadow, the repressed parts of the psyche that resist change. But the only way to integrate the shadow is to face it. And each time you do, your fear loses power. You become more whole, more free, more you. 4. Let go of the old mask to live as a dreamer. You must let go of the version of yourself that was built only to be acceptable. This is the persona you constructed to win approval. The one who followed the script, said the right things, stayed in the lines. This mask may have kept you safe, but it is also what's keeping you stuck. And letting it go may mean saying no to roles you've outgrown, disappointing people who benefited from your silence, standing alone for a while, misunderstood. This is painful, but it is also the threshold of rebirth. Jung wrote, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are, and becoming requires shedding the skin of who you're not." 5. Build a new community. One of the quiet tragedies of living half asleep is the loneliness it creates. When you pretend, when you mask, when you follow the script, you're never truly seen. But when you begin to live honestly, you attract others who are doing the same. This doesn't happen all at once. Colleagues who find your change confusing, but slowly something shifts. You begin to recognize other dreamers, people who value depth, who choose wonder over cynicism, who hunger for meaning instead of applause. Find these people, talk to them, share your questions, create together, support each other through the storms of change. Build what Jung would call a shared soul space, a collective container where transformation is not just allowed, but encouraged. You don't have to do this alone, and you were never meant to. 6. Let wonder guide your decisions. One of the most practical yet revolutionary shifts you can make is this: make decisions based on what makes you feel alive. Not what's expected, not what's safe, not what's most likely to succeed. Ask yourself, what do I want to feel? What do I want to experience? Who do I want to become? Let those questions guide your next steps. in big and small ways. Whether you're choosing a career, a relationship, or how to spend a Tuesday afternoon, let wonder weigh in. This doesn't mean being reckless. It means being honest. Your dreamer knows the way. 7. Face the resistance and keep going. Some people will not understand your awakening. They may feel threatened by your aliveness because it reminds them of what they buried in themselves. They may mock your new choices, call you unrealistic, dismiss your changes as a phase. Let them. Remember, their judgment is not about you. It's about their own fear. Jung believed that true transformation always provokes resistance, both from within and without. But that resistance is also proof that you are moving beyond the old self. Let the discomfort refine you, not define you. And above all, keep going. 8. Redefine success. Living as a dreamer means rejecting the narrow definitions of success that were handed to you. Success is not just achievement. It is alignment. It is waking up and knowing you are living your life, not someone else's. It is going to sleep at night, knowing that you followed your curiosity, honored your feelings, and dared to be real. Your dreamer doesn't want a perfect life. They want a true one. 9. Turn the hunger into purpose. The hunger you once felt, that deep ache for something more, doesn't go away, but it does transform. Once you begin living from your dreamer, that hunger becomes purpose. Not a fixed destination, but a way of moving through the world. You begin to feel guided, not by fear, but by intuition. You start to see that even your pain had meaning, that nothing was wasted, that every shadow you faced became part of the light you now carry. This is wholeness. This is Jung's vision fulfilled. A human being not split between persona and soul, but integrated, alive, and awake. 10. Keep choosing wonder. Daily awakening isn't a single event. It's a practice. Every day, you'll face the choice. Conform or create. Numb or feel. Perform or be seen. Settle or wonder. Choose wonder. Over and over. Until it becomes a way of life. And then, without even realizing it, you become someone else's permission slip. You become living proof that it is never too late to change. That dreams don't die, they wait. That the world is not only what it is, but what it could be, if enough of us remembered how to dream again. Final reflection. You are the proof, Carl Jung once wrote. Your vision will become clear only when you look into your heart. Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakes. But let us reinterpret that. Maybe both are true. The dreamer does both. They look inward for truth, and then outward to bring it into the world. You are not here to escape reality. You are here to transform it with your wonder, your questions, your courage to live from the inside out. The world needs people like you. People who remember. People who dare. People who live awake. So dream, act, share, fall, get back up. Keep going, because the life you are creating isn't just for you. It's for everyone watching, quietly wondering if they can begin again too. And when they see your light, your freedom, your strange aliveness, they'll remember something in themselves they almost forgot. And just like that, one more dreamer wakes up.